When you come to see us from the west or the south, you'll be traveling on U.S. Route 1 over the Narraguagas River. This is tidewater at this point, up Campbell Hill, where most of the houses were all built by the Campbell family. Ours is the oldest at the top on the left. This town has not left the 19th century. Our home sits there, built in 1790. We go by it and swing into the driveway. The swimming pools along windows. Over our grade crossing into the field. It's fall. Boats have been pulled out of the water. Our ballast pile is empty. In fact, today we just received 28 cubic yards, getting ready for next summer. This is a drawing of the track. The barn is on your left, and the terminal loop is straight ahead with the maximum elevation marked on it, upper left, with several sidings there, two of which go into the barn. The train proceeds around this loop, down over the road crossing by the station, which is also a sheep barn. The track comes together, single track line. You can see the cutoff, or the train can proceed around down the main line. The track now ends where the double track starts, is marked on the drawing. Leveling off in this area, and another turning loop to the east of the little house you saw. The track is set up so that it can continue on for several more miles. You're overlooking the Washington County Railroad. We're located in Cherryfield, Maine. That's way out on the northeastern part of the United States, about 50 miles from Canada. We call this the Washington County Railroad II. The original Washington County Railroad still exists. It's about a quarter mile off to the right. It's 4 foot 8.5 inch gauge. There hasn't been any commercial traffic on it in many, many years. The railroad enthusiasts love it and use their speeders on it regularly. I have the last hand car used for track inspection on that part of the line. When we feel ambitious, we take it out for a ride. Getting back to what you see, which is our Washington County Railroad II, the F7 is working upgrade, heading toward the terminal. Where it is now, it's double-track main line. The railroad's located in a sheep pasture. You can see one of the sheep behind the locomotive. We started this railroad in 1982, and little by little it has progressed. It is designed so there'll never be an end of the railroad. It'll go on and on. We patterned it after the Hilton Valley line, where you go out about 1,000 feet, build in some kind of a turnaround, proceed another 1,000 feet and another 1,000 feet. We're now starting on the second 1,000 feet. We have about 2,000 feet of track down, including sidings, and now out to lay another 2,000 feet of track. The work train you see is heading up around the west terminal of the track. The track is, as I said, 7.5 inch gauge, but it's been designed so 7.25 gauge equipment can run on it. We use guarded frogs patterned after the prototype frogs of this type. A similar track in New England is the one that Nick Edwards has in Nashua, New Hampshire. Our railroad is point to point. The diesel in the background is now working down grade. The main line grade is kept at 1.5%. I enjoy running steam engines when you have a long, steady grade, and this is what we've tried to achieve. When the next phase is completed, there will be about 3 miles of steady 1.5% grade. The highway you see to the left of the track is U.S. Route 1. You're facing west. The east is behind us, and that's where you go to get to Canada. It's about 50 miles to the Canadian border. I believe that we are the easternmost railroad of this kind in the United States. Next summer we have a lot of work to do. The raw earth in the foreground shows you where we've done considerable excavation. I believe we moved 400 to 500 cubic yards of dirt last summer. My son Jim took charge of that part of the operation. Watch out for those animals up ahead. Sooner or later, we're going to have roast mutton. In regauging the 060, there is 3/8 of an inch difference between the old British standard for 7 1/4 and our American standard for 7 1/2, or the International Brotherhood standard for 7 1/2. We're riding behind our electric. It's a 60-ton Baldwin Westinghouse freight motor. It'll take you back down the track to show you what it looked like after we completed our fall construction. Now, the cutoff line's to the left, and we're heading on down the main line. We have a hard-working crew here at our organization. We're very loosely organized, but we get a lot done. We work when we feel like it. We only have one formal meet, and that's our international meet, which has been held the last few years on the weekend before Labor Day weekend. Rolling up to the end of the track. The next piece of track to go in will be a switch, and the track will become double from here on. We're getting ready to give you a cab ride. Running around the track on the diesel, the F7. That has a 5.5 horsepower motor driving hydraulic pumps. They're hydraulic motors on the wheels. It's our workhorse, day-to-day locomotive. Takes a good beating, but seems to hold up very well. The 060 that you see over the ash pit, it's coming up now, is being prepared to give you the cab ride. He's getting ready to clean out his stack before he starts. In his right hand he has a radio. We run radios on most engines. Traffic runs a lot better that way. Little checking out of the steam engine before picking up his train. This is an animal guard. This keeps sheep in the pasture. The F7 is standing on the main line to let him pass. Now getting ready. When you come out the next time, heads out really heavy brake. The engine is pulling off the ash pit. He's going to back in on the other siding. He's going to back in there so he can pick up his train. Listen carefully as you go on this cab ride. You should be able to tell exactly what the engineer is doing. You can hear the Johnson bar move, the blower being turned on and off. The steam drains, steam cocks being opened and closed to let the steam out of the cylinders, hot water out of the cylinders. Now he's backing into the barn to pick up his train. Over the ash pit. He's working his fire again. You're now approaching the high point on the railroad. We're going around the family vegetable garden. Note the sound of the valves. I'll comment on them again in a minute. Station's up ahead. The F-7's holding for us. That was the work train on the left. U.S. Route 1 in the distance. The engineer has his blower on. You're drifting down grade 1.5%. The drifting or snifting valves are pulling in air to the steam chest and up the stack. This makes the valves noisy. There's no pressure on the valves right now. It's a difficult time for the engineer. He has to keep his pressure up, but doesn't have any exhaust steam to help with his draft. He's going down about a 2-mile scale downgrade. He knows when he heads back up, he's going to have some pretty bad grades. He can't chance that his fire gets low on him. Coming to the end of the double track. The engineer's being cautious to make sure everything's in the clear. He's running it with that blower on. Continually working his fire, making sure everything's ready. It's a steep drop-off off to the left. The main line is about 5 feet below us on the left. This is a cautious engineer today. He's being very careful when he hits any of the switches. We're going down the main line now. That was the cutoff on your left. But he's heading into a slight cut here. There, he opened the firebox door again. U.S. Route 1 is above us to the right. When these pictures were made, this was the end of the line. Now we go quite a bit further. He just cleaned out his cylinders and closed his drain cocks. Now on the 1.5% grade. It's 1.5% all the way to the high point.
I'll pull back into the yard.
The engine's pulling right along now. Notice that there's no valve noise. There's steam, plenty of steam pressure in the steam chest. He's reaching a nice steady state condition. The grade is uniform. He could have gone faster if he wanted to when he was coming up to 3.5% grade. I'll never tire of running a steam engine. This is what I mean about it having a nice, long, steady grade. The wood pile is ties. The Johnson bar was yanked back. Into the barn we go. He's actually stopping on the ash pit. I hope you enjoyed your cab ride. The engineer now is checking his fire. He'll take water and get ready for the next round. Well, winter does come. That's quite a feat. The noise you hear is the ice breaking. Not much like the prototype, but our crew has found this rig to be the best. They prefer to have the locomotive pushing. The plow is homemade. We really can't fool much with scale operation here, as we have real snow to plow. And we have to try to keep the railroad open. We don't like ice-encrusted snow that they're hitting. Day is done. You saw the plow train come into the barn. The dolly matches up with the outside track. The trains roll right onto it. The F7's sitting on one. They bring up a special beam behind the dolly, hook it to the hydraulic lift. This engine was built entirely in our shops. It was patterned after the William Mason, with some dimensions similar to the Governor Stanford. The lift is now raising it. This makes it very easy for us to load and unload. In a climate like ours, it's nice to have your loading area under cover. You see the engine sliding back and forth. There's no need to worry about alignment when you're backing in. Here's our shop. The vertical mills is a Wells Index. The lathe in the background is a standard modern, a Canadian brand. Very, very pleased with it. Our workbenches, workshop. Our biggest problem is we're always in chaos. We have so many people working here. The 060 is on the dolly for maintenance. Here are our guests from Canada. Albert's coming around the West Loop now, heading out for the main line. Al Grant again, heading out with Albert's engine. It's time to depart. Albert's engine's on our lift now. We're getting ready to load. You can see how easy it is just to roll the equipment right back into your vehicle or trailer. This is Henry Groth track. It's 100 miles south of us. We get down there to see it when possible. Taking off now to give you some idea of Henry's track. It's a very interesting one that winds through the woods, leaving the terminal area now. Through the woods we go. The track on your right comes back the other way. We'll be on it in a few minutes. Notice there are 3 tracks here, one to the right of us and one to the left of us. A few seconds ago we were on the track on the right. And then we will come back on the track on the left and eventually head back to the terminal area. The track on the right is coming out of the terminal area. We're going to turn around and head right back into the woods again. Here we go, back to the woods. You can see that Henry does a lot of work on that track. That's the train we saw a few seconds ago. There are 3 tracks abreast here. We're very pleased with the electric. It is a model of the Oshawa 300 in the Seashore Trolley Museum. If you're interested in trolleys, I highly recommend you visit the museum in Kennebunkport. The terminal is up ahead, station area. We're heading home now. Waldoboro's on the main coast. It's a very pretty area to visit, right on US Route 1. We're 100 miles further east. If the traffic is light, you can make it in 2 hours from Henry's to our track. In the summertime, don't expect light traffic on US Route 1. We're going into the loop now so where we can turn around, get ready to pull out again.
Thank you for watching Train Time.